On Central News tonight, getting paid to teach graffiti, breast cancer support services and our shocking statistics on domestic violence. Kia ora, welcome to Central News for Friday the 31st of October. I'm Hilary Entwistle. Latari Paku has had an interesting background, from getting in trouble with the authorities as a youth to now working for an organisation that focuses on keeping youth off the streets and keeping their minds and bodies active. Amanda Harper talks to Latari about how he got to where he is today.
Well, really, I was really into graffiti and I really wanted to do it. And there was one wall that I went to, asked the guy for permission, bro, can I do this on your wall? He said, yep. And then I was out there when I was doing the wall, heaps of kids came around and they were I was just packed, heaps of kids behind me. And then a youth worker in Huntley that works for Te Ahurai rolled past, seen it, we need to do more of this, started working with me, and was working with them for about 5-6 months, voluntarily. And then come on full time, and I've been doing it ever since. Yeah, just bigger and better from there. So that's how I actually came into this game, the youth game, and doing it how I am.
Yeah. So just like that, you were picked off the street?
Yeah,
literally.
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, you could say that.
Now, I know you used to get into a little bit of trouble when you were younger as a teenager. Was there a pivotal moment for you that you kind of decided, I need to sort of just get on the straight and narrow?
Yeah, well, after my FGC, I went through the FGCs and stuff, had to go say sorry to everyone that, kind of messed up their properties.
So was that when you were tagging?
Yeah, when I was out there tagging, kind of without permission. My own permission, but not the permission of the places that I've done it on. Yeah, and then one of the cops said, bro, you don't have to run from us, you can do it properly. And then he led me on to, this is how you do it, just go on and ask, take some of your work. And then that's when I done it, went and asked for that first wall, done my first wall, and then got picked up on the streets, like you said.
So do you think that your background has helped you gain the trust of the youth that you now work with?
Yeah, well, I see, in Huntley specifically, it's pretty much a thing for everyone to have a tag. Everyone has to have a different alias, and everyone is into it. The moment you pull out a spray can, everyone's like, oh, whoa, come over, and then to know that I was out there and I've done the same thing as them, I've been there, done that kind of thing, they know what it's, they know that I know what it's like and I can connect with them more.
So why do you think that Huntley needs people like you?
I'm not saying I'm like the Pied Piper or nothing, but I think just more role models, I guess, more role models that are there that are keen to help, keen to be in there, that are interactive, and that aren't just kind of putting on a face to get, a good name or money or anything. Yeah, if there were more role models and they were out there, definitely be a better place, better place for youth to come up, be around more positive, happy people.
Especially in a place like Huntley as well.
Yeah, hard. It's only a small town.
So is there anything that motivates you?
Seeing youth happy, thriving, engaging, talking, connecting, seeing them follow their dreams, follow their goals, go through right to the end. I think, when I see that type of stuff, I'm like, yeah.
You know that you're doing your job right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, the organisation you work for is called Te Ahurai a Rangatahi. What does that mean in English?
The gathering of youth.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Now, is it primarily for Māori youth?
Yeah, we have a specific focus on Māori youth, but if there are other cultures and stuff that come along, we're not going to say, no, go away, you're not Māori. So we work with all youth, but our primary focus is on Māori youth.
For more information about Te Ahurai a Rangatahi, check out their Facebook page, facebook.com/teahurai.arangatahi. Formed in Tauranga in 1991, Breast Cancer Support Services is a local independent charitable trust supporting women in the Bay of Plenty region through diagnosis to remission.
We're really all about practical and emotional support, so we're not medically trained at all. The doctors and nurses have all of that under control. It's really more that emotional side and getting through and understanding what's going on, dealing with those fears and feelings. So the most important thing with that is getting people together to talk to others in a similar situation, realise that they're not alone, putting them in touch with ladies that have been through it and come out the other end, and showing that survivorship and that it's not a death sentence. So those are the most important things.
Support visitors, it's quite unique. Can you tell me about that service?
Yeah, that's really our point of difference. So we have one-on-one support visitors, and they're all volunteers that have been through breast cancer themselves at some point in their lives. They might only be 2 or 3 years post their diagnosis. Some of them are 15, 16 years, and we've actually got one lady that's 50 years clear of her diagnosis. So she's our wonderful shining example of how you can survive breast cancer and be happy and healthy for a very long time. So they're unique because they can truly empathise. They've been there, done that, and no matter how good your friends and family are from a support perspective, they can't truly understand unless they have been there. So it is quite unique and it is quite special.
And what about Helping Hands?
Yes, Helping Hands. That started a few years ago. We just saw the need for sometimes a little bit more support, and that can be just a little bit of a morale boost. So it might be going and having a massage or getting your nails done, that kind of thing. But also, there's a lot of financial impact when you're diagnosed with breast cancer. So often you are, leaving work. You may have to leave work permanently, temporarily. You have increased costs in petrol and travel to and from appointments, childcare if you're dealing with children, things like that. So we also provide a little bit of a helping hand financially when we can, and we have good funds.
What is the key message for everyone about breast cancer and early detection?
Yeah, it's quite simple. It's just being aware of your breasts, knowing them, understanding. It's more than just feeling for lumps, because breast cancer can present in other ways, and sometimes lumps are very hard to feel. So it is, you still got to do that in the shower, just, cop a feel now and then. But also it's just having a look, what's normal for you. And if you see any changes, then, identify that, because everyone is different. All of us have our different breasts, same as our faces, we're all different. So it's just getting familiar with yourself and your body and knowing when something's changed and doing something about it.
So how do you guys fund everything here?
How do we fund it? Well, we rely heavily on our community, absolutely. So we have our fundraising events, and we hope that people come along and donate to us there. We encourage others to, especially through the month of October when everything's pink, is to join in on pink events, hold their own events and donate to us. We are separate to the Breast Cancer Foundation in that we don't deal with the research and medical grants, so we are purely local for the Tauranga Bay of Plenty area. And it is purely support of those diagnosed rather than the other side. So we do rely on our community to get behind us and help with events and so forth. We do apply to funders for wages and rent, that kind of thing. And generally we're successful, but there's always a chance that we won't be. So we do need to have that backup and support of our community as well.
And what is your biggest event?
Oh, well, we have a rival now. It has been the Hot Pink Walk for many years, and that's our big walk downtown Tauranga through October, where everyone dresses in pink, and we have a great time down there and celebrating survivorship and honouring those that are taken. But we've also recently started the 200 Club, which is a supporters club. And that's where people pay $200 to be a supporter. So we're not talking about necessarily survivors or those that have been through breast cancer, but just anyone that wants to support the cause and support their local community. And they pay $200 to be a member. So definitely targeting those corporates and things like that can show a little bit of social responsibility. And $200 gets them a membership certificate that they can display to say that they're involved in the 200 Club. They receive communications about where the money's going, how it's being spent, and some really feel-good stories, and also an invitation to the long lunch that we have for those members every year, where we have an inspirational speaker. They can get together and network with other members, that kind of thing, prizes and so forth, and we have a sponsor for that. So still most of the money comes back to the service. And that's growing. It was 63 in its first year as members, and last year we had 153. So hopefully next year we have another double on that.
If you'd like to find out more about the service, visit breastcancerbop.co.nz. Coming up next, our shocking domestic violence statistics. Welcome back to Central News. Domestic violence is something that affects all walks of life. So what if we're starting out in a relationship? Are there any early warning signs or behaviours that we can look out for?
And most of the time, woman does know in the beginning, and saying, I was giving him a chance, time to change, and a lot of the time, ethnic women try every single way to try out to work this relationship. They come to the point when they are on the end of it, and there's no other way out. Especially if the SIFs got involved or the police got involved, it's gone quite serious where they have no choice to leave. And a lot of the time they do try to reconcile, thinking it might work, he might have changed since I left him. And when they come on the second time, they do sometimes say, I shouldn't have gone. And normally my answers to them is, at least you have given enough chances to him to change. Now you have no regret for later on in the life.
Heather, what do you think are some early warning signs that it possibly could be a dangerous relationship?
When a young woman in particular start saying in their head to themselves, I mustn't wear that dress, he doesn't like it. I shouldn't talk to his friends, he doesn't like it. I won't invite mum or my sister or all my support people round because he doesn't like it. So the isolation begins and the control starts to take over. These are some very early warning signs for our woman, just to go to that Women's Refuge website and take that relationship quiz that's on there. There's some amazingly good pointers on that website about some of the warning signs to be aware of.
And what about if we know of someone who is in a violent relationship and we don't want to be the narc?
That's quite rife in our community. I'm hoping with the It's Not Okay campaign that's changing. And you know, it's really easy to say over the fence, are you okay? That's not me narking, that's just me as a concerned neighbour to say, are you okay? Can I help you? Is there any support I can offer you? It's the beginning of our whole community starting to step up and take responsibility for all our women and our children and what's happening over our next door neighbours' fences. Yep.
And is there that kind of stigma against narking in the ethnic population?
Especially when a woman, normally what happens when a woman is married, and most of the marriages are arranged marriages, forced marriages, underage marriages. And when a woman has got a problem with the relationship, the first one normally she goes to the family, and the family is either might be the husband want more dowry to keep me in the relationship, and the parents are thinking, okay, we can give the dowry to settle this down. And that's something the parents need to decide, or the family we need to educate, being more awareness that this is the early signs. If this is happening, this relationship is power and controlled from the beginning to make a judgment only on the conditional, you know, if she listens to me, she can stay. Otherwise, I don't want her in the house.
And what about if we have a friend that is in a dangerous, violent relationship? How can we encourage them to move on?
Normally, we have got programs like coffee sessions, subsidized driving lessons, and that way sort of we do link to the women in the community, so they are aware that we are here and they can talk about just generally asking information, and the staff always around there to give some information on what's going on. And also just the Pohutakawa tree cards are really useful in Bay of Plenty area. Normally just giving this to the woman, and it's got all the numbers at the back from the Women's Refuge to Shakti and other services around there to make a contact.
Yep, and I'd agree with Sonia about the Pohutakawa cards. It's got It's Not Okay on the outside of it, and it's got all our DV accredited agencies. Really important to listen to women and to believe their stories. Some of their stories are sometimes unbelievable, and we've got no idea what goes on behind closed doors in some people's homes. And it's our children that we must hold as our precious taonga, so that we need to Yeah, just even if we start talking about what they see in the future for their children. Family violence, it's not okay, but it is okay to ask for help is the mantra that we're using. And I think it's so much on our TVs now that everybody in New Zealand knows that saying. So it's a really good opener, yeah, to talk to our women about. Yeah.
Children are quite often exposed to domestic violence, and in fact, being exposed to domestic violence is a form of child abuse. What kind of effect does that have on a child? Do we know how it affects them in their future?
It has huge effect. We know that in the first 3 years, because of the work of the Brainwave Trust, a child's brain, when it's living in trauma, develops differently. DV, domestic violence, is trauma. So we know their brain waves and their brain patterns are different. We know, for instance, that we've got one of the highest teenage pregnancy rates in the OECD countries. We know that our young men are killing themselves at a higher rate than other countries, other Western countries. All of this is showing us what's happening to our kids. We know that behaviour changes when children are brought up in domestic violence. Children can introvert or extrovert. They're acting out what they see. Often all communication is all behaviour is communication. So our kids are trying to tell us things. It's us adults that need to listen to their pleas for help.
How important is it to put the emphasis back on the men, that the men need to stand up and say something?
I think it's absolutely vital. Men aren't the whole solution to the family violence issue, but they're one of the solutions. We as a community need to be accountable for our neighbours and for each of us, but safe men can make such a difference. Safe men saying, actually bro, what you're doing's not okay, it can make such a difference, and we know that.
Are you finding in the ethnic population that men are standing up and saying something against men?
Not many. We have got a family centre up in Auckland where we were thinking if women reconcile, she can go for counselling together. But since we have that office, we haven't seen not even a single case at the moment where men is coming forward to ask for help.
And of course, it's not just about physical violence. Emotional abuse can have a huge effect too, can't it?
Well, you can emotionally abuse a woman without physically or sexually hurting her. It is still family violence.
And a lot of the Asian countries, like Bangladesh, over 80% of the figures are the women are getting abused in their homes.
If you or anyone you know is experiencing any form of domestic abuse, you can phone the crisis line on 0800 Refuge, or for the Ethnic Women's Refuge, 0800 Shakti. Coming up next on Central News, the housing accord for the Western Bay. Welcome back to Central News. A housing accord has been signed off between Tauranga City and Western Bay councils and central government. The accord will allow for 1,300 new homes a year to be built in the region, an attempt to counteract housing shortages and skyrocketing prices. I wanted to know if rate increase at or around the rate of inflation will generate enough income for future capital works to deal with 1,300 new homes a year.
Okay, the 1,300 figure pertains to Tauranga City. Our figure is 175, so it's not that same big figure. No, the rate increases won't cover that, but we've already, in Omokoroa, we've already spent the money. The infrastructure's already in the ground. We've already paid for it with debt. So we're just looking to be able to find ways of servicing that debt better and having more people come in to build our rate base.
Will that mean that development contributions will be reassessed?
Yes, they will. That's one of the other things that we've found out, that some of the areas and decisions we made 15 years, 10 years ago are not appropriate. Things are slowed down. We are right now discussing the possibilities of revising downward the financial contributions in Omokoroa, and that will just ease it for developers and first-time house owners to be able to be part of that process.
Why Tauranga and the Western Bay? Why were we chosen alongside Auckland?
Growth has slowed down. Where we were going to talk of large numbers of houses, we're now having to rescale down. We've removed some roads that we say, well, we no longer need that. We can do that same thing with cul-de-sacs instead of a major road. And just the effects of reduced growth, we've got to really cut our budgets as well and fit to the same the reduced monies that's coming in.
As we spread out into these greenfield areas, are we looking at becoming another Auckland sprawled across the Bay of Plenty? Are we eventually going to be connected to Katikati and Te Puke?
Well, I sincerely hope not. I think one of the main other drivers in smart growth is the protection of versatile soils. And around all our cities we have very good high quality soils, and one part of the accord is to try to go to smaller sections or higher density, maybe multiple type buildings. So we are looking to protect our versatile soils, so I don't think you'll see a great spread into the housing into the versatile areas and those good soils.
Do you think that this housing accord actually does help young people getting into their first homes?
I believe it will. The figures that we're starting to talk with developers is in that area of under 400,000, and that's the figure that seems to tip the scales towards them being able to get there. And we are also in Amokara, we have the land, so we can actually work with developers and then get a good price out of that.
You can view a copy of the Housing Accord on the Council's website, westernbay.gov.nz. Now for the weekend's weather. Looking at the marine forecast for Saturday now. That is Central News for today and this week. If you'd like to get in contact with us, you can via our Facebook page, centralnews.tv, or email us news@tvcentral.co.nz. Make sure you watch again next week for more stories from the Bay Plenty and the Waikato. Until then, I'm Hilary Entwistle. I hope you have a lovely evening and a fantastic weekend.
This has been an Alpha Media production, a division of Television Media Group.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.